Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. Yes, indeed, we are back to this flaming dome with the issue, my issue, that I think that the dome needs paying close attention to. And that's this rotation point at the intersection of the two faces of the dome, the two triangles, right at this point. And I thought to myself, it's obvious, isn't it? If we put and I'll just hide that for a moment. If we put a couple of blocks in the corner of each triangle, glue and screw well to each of the individual triangles, that reinforces that corner significantly. And then, if we place a metal plate bent at the prerequisite angle, and that would be a fairly heavy plate, and I haven't shown it properly, but a corresponding plate on the bottom to balance it, it could be fixed into the timber or all the way through the timber into the corresponding plate, and that makes an equal stressed top and bottom for flexion, both compression and tension in that area, ties the two panels together and directs the energies up to this strut, which is or gives a direct line of force down through the strut plate back into the strut again. So that way it is a stable joint, or as stable as you could possibly create it. The alternative, which is one of the ones I thought of, is to create this triangle out of either heavier timber or light steel and treat it as a separate supporting member for the dome. See it as a separate entity to the dome itself, but still look like it's part of the dome. But part of the whole criteria for building this dome is to be able to do it in-house in a workshop without having to involve specialty trades or services. This one still may require that, because this may be a 3mm, maybe even up to a 4 or 5mm plate, and shown here it's quite wide. That would take some bending, and needing a bending brake to do that, well, that's what you've got to come up with. Make a template, get a adjustable bevel or whatever you require, take the angle, take it away to the metalworking shop and have it bent to that required angle. The angles are going to be the same on all 8 plates, or 16 if you've got 1 and 2 on top and bottom on each side. So you need 4 here, 4 here, so that's 16 plates. Have them all bent up, and then you can bring them back and cut them to shape. So that's relatively straightforward and not expensive. Drill them on site through the plate into the, sorry for the panning and zooming issue there, but you could drill them right through, and that would make a very stable joint. It's very similar to other systems that are out there, and the one of the products called Star Plate, they actually show a similar idea for when they've got their hub, and on the larger spans, and they make specific reference to perhaps a snow load in the large domes, you may want to put one of their plates top and bottom for the very reason I'm talking about here. They saw the wisdom in that and understood that there's pressures on their own domes, and there have been quite large domes using their star plates, which is a fairly heavy profile cut and bent, of course, plate, and it's a single plate and it's quite a large dome. However, they do acknowledge exactly the same issue I'm talking about here, And as I said, even though I am a little bit paranoid about this, I think I'm justified, because this is not a completed structure for a dome where, I mean complete as in the sense that all the triangles are in place that would stabilize this joint inherently. So that being the case, the people that have created this style of dome will have had to give serious thought to their joint here, and hopefully they've engaged an engineer or have prior experience. I don't, as I said, I'm a builder, not an engineer. The dome I built back in the 70s was incredibly strong. It was a full dome, full the triangles going right down to the ground. This one is a little bit of a we're moving away from the norm, and I do like this particular dome. If you just wait there, I will just go and grab a photo just to highlight my concern. So just wait there. We're back again, and this was one of the types of dome I'd been looking at for different features. Yes, it is a strut type, a hub type dome, the connectors here, but this was one of the ones that was quite reasonably leggy in this area here, and quite big in the opening itself. Not a bad thing. It also has a lot more angle between this triangle and this triangle, making it a little bit more stable. It's inherently more stable because of that greater angle than we have in this example. But they would have had to have had quite a bit of how would you say, the way they've bolted through the steel hubs. They would have had quite a bit of consideration into the length of their timbers. Part of the issue here with these membrane type structures is that it is tied down to the base with rope or steel cable and turnbuckles, and that in itself makes the dome even more stable from wind uplift. Now, you shouldn't be relying on the waterproofing membrane, the vinyl or whatever the type of cover it is, to be part of your structure, but it can't be ignored as having an impact upon it. But the gentle angle, or actually, another photo is this one. It's quite leggy and quite high in this dome, pleasing in this area here, and that's okay, but not exactly what I was looking for. The look, if I can just find another one for an example, see whether we can come in here. This is starting, if I just zoom out here, this is starting to get to the idea where it's flatter between these faces here, these two triangles, and it's much more gentle and therefore flat in the dome itself. You can see this is quite a large one for the number of seats that it's got sitting underneath it. So I suggest this one would have to be 10 or 12 meters across. It'd have to be reasonably big, and these inserts are going to be working overtime. They simply cannot not be working overtime, if you understand what I mean. This one here is very, very leggy, so I don't find it attractive at all, and it is relatively small, but it is quite, these triangles are quite small, unusual ratio proportions. So that's another, well, this one here, actually what I'll do is I'll just hide these. Actually, I could delete them because I won't be using them again. Where are we? There was one I just wanted to show. Oh, this is another one. This is a good example of the gentle nature to the opening, and you can see what I'm talking about there, this gentle slope and swoop to the opening. That's what I'm after, but it comes with the inherent problems as I'm talking about there. Oh yes, here it is here. Again, I'll get rid of that one. Oops, I'll get rid of that one and I'll bring it back in. Rotate it up so you can see better. Very leggy and quite abrupt in its the opening area. Functional, yes. Don't get me wrong. I don't think these are a bad thing for function, but the aesthetics and for what I want, I want something different. What they've also done is utilise the quadro type structure where it can be divided, and they've actually put a flat section in here and spread it so that this is actually not square, it's rectangular, and it's one of the features. So you can actually take a couple of the segments and spread them out. Again, a really good feature. This one here is really quite an unusual shape, but it's exactly what I don't want. And this is why I was referenced in a previous video about it, some domes are dome shape in name only, but they're not really a true smooth dome, because these peaks here are actually higher than this strut here, so it's not really a dome, it's a dome-ish shape. And again, it's very leggy and that looks quite unusual. Don't know why. I would never, no, I'll stay away from that. I wouldn't be using that one. Can't find the one I was actually looking for, but nonetheless, well, what have we got here? Rotate this one up for you, and we're back to the preferred look that I want, where you can see that graceful swoop of the opening, and subjectively you can say that these two triangles are quite flat, but you get that quite swoopy sort of nature to the dome shape, and it's quite pleasing. And this is another example. It's quite a large one, this one. I'd hate to think how big it is, and same thing, quite flat between these two triangles. So the stresses on the tendons, the rods that go into this timber, not insignificant. This is, I believe, the one I've been referencing, the Alp bar, and this is an example of not it. This is a rip-off of it, and they used, well, they bolted into it, but they had these tiny little sleeves, we call them nut couplers or rod couplers, to join threaded rod. And whoever did this epoxied them in, had a steel plate, and then they, on the timber, bolted, adhered to the timber. They even had stupid wood screws going into the end grain of the timber, and of course they were obviously selling this, or selling it, let's say, and it failed. So something that someone could buy would kind of look similar to the really good quality Alp bar type. I hope I'm getting the pronunciation right, but if I'm not, well, I can't help that. But domes do fail and can fail. That any structure built by man or woman, they've got the potential of failing, and if we don't address that as a reality, we can build something and it fail. Now this one here was kind of the one I actually like the finish of this, very nice, but this one is very leggy, but still looks nice, but it does have that very angular type opening there, so very nice finish. We don't have these sorts of tiles a great deal in where I live, so it's a bit of a shame. Here's another example. I'll just get rid of that and that. and that's what I'm after. It's the outside view of one of the other photos I showed. You can see again quite different in that look. Very pleasing, I've got to say. Now I'll just finish off with, if I can just find it, and then I'll let you go if you haven't already wandered off already. But it was an example of a failed dome, and I will look for it. Ah yes, here we go. If I bring this in, I'll get rid of, I'll just get rid of this, and if I hide that and I just rotate this up a bit, this is what you can wind up with. I've got an inkling that through the explanation it wasn't a fully completed dome. Well, it's less complete now, and it was unfortunately hit with a very strong change in weather. So the strength of a dome you can't be complacent with. You can't assume because it's a dome it's bulletproof. Nah, doesn't happen. So unfortunately they didn't get it complete, and now it's a, well, it is now, it's a complete mess. It's a write-off. So I'm just playing the let's be cautious game, and if we can build a good structure, safe, not too bulky, and keeps this nice look, whoops, sorry for that panning, that nice gentle look, I'm going with it. Rightio, that's it. Bit of a rambly old video this one, but I think this is, I can put to bed for the meantime this issue, thinking that it could be a way forward that resolves my paranoia. It may be that if I want to proceed with this, I may just run it past an engineer to get at least a second set of eyes looking at it to see whether I'm oversimplifying it or overcomplicating it. Okay, that's it. Better go. See you in the next video. Bye now.